What?
Oh my gosh, this is fascinating. I just found, I love it when the Spirit does this. It's one thing when you bring truth, it's another
I'm in a
thing if
real
I can
deep
share.
spot, so just be gentle when you speak.
I'll be very gentle. This is connecting the amok, the deep.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is a scripture, has the deep in it.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because...
Oh my gosh, this is like, this is another one of those things. Whew. I felt impressed to look up Sheol. I'm having this wonderful conversation with this gal that found us that has a Catholic background. She lives, she's an Irish Catholic to be exact, and lives in England now. And she began discussing about the Council of Nicaea and all these things, the hell and damnation that they preach, and it never resonated with her. So she doesn't have a lot of Bible knowledge. So I was led to look up Sheol. So I'm not going to go into any more of that because that's not the point I'm trying to make. But when I was looking at the root of it being Sha'al, to ask questions, right?
Right.
Sheen,
Right.
Aleph Lamed.
Right. Yes.
Right? So through the fire, because you get burned, and so you have to go to a strong leader, a teaching shepherd, to find out why did I get burned.
Right.
Okay?
This is actually leading into what I'm going to share after you share, because...
This is so fantastic. Okay, so I'm going down and I'm looking at this and just tracing it down, and as I get down to Sheol, well, I saw Sha'al first, and then I thought, okay, well that's the root, so let's go see a morph. And of course, Sha'al has like Tov's added, and you know, Hay's added and Mem's added, so there's a lot going on here. But with Sheol, I was led to Isaiah 7:11, because in this, where it says a place where people descend at death, of course, that's what they want people to think. That's not at all what it is. It's Brown Driver Briggs has it as Sha'ala, having a hay on the backside of it, as a feminine word. Right? Feminine attached to spirit, spirit without, or the one that's without us, our Ezer Kenegdo. So it says to the very first verse, it says to see Isaiah 7:11. So then I went to Isaiah 7:11, and the first thing that it has, the very first word is ask. Sha'al, conjunctive dash, lamed kaf. So go ask.
Right.
A teacher,
Right.
a teaching shepherd that has grasped the power of the words.
Right.
A sign, Aleph Vav Tav.
Right.
So they are a sign, signal, and beacon. And then it's Mayam, from Yod He Vav He. So there we have that root Am again. But now we have Mayam, the mothers of the living water. And then Elohecha. Either in the deep, Ha'amak, or the height, Hakibah, He, Gimel Bet He, from above. Allah, Lamed Mem Allah, to ascend and be the highest. So this verse is basically, for the root of hell, is where we are to seek and ask, inquire from the female spirit, our Ezer Kenegdo, that circles us, where you will find the answers through the spirit by going to a teaching shepherd that has already become a sign, signal, and beacon through the Aleph Tav. They are of the deep. So that you can get out of hell, out of Sheol, the place where you ask questions.
Absolutely.
Because it's school. So you gotta have a teacher.
And it's interesting. So to yes, and absolutely. That's where this
Wow.
amok through sharing this deep, what the deep is, right? Which comes from really tohu bohu. It stems right back to tohu bohu.
The formless and birthplace.
We're looking at, like, see, what I'm seeing right now is like, and I need to just let me finish my thought, because
Okay.
absolutely yes, the above and below. And I think that we've really limited our perspective of what the world would say God would be, and so we've labeled it as Yod He Vav He and these things, because we just don't comprehend the deep. We don't comprehend the completed circle of everything and nothing. And so from our limited perspective, we're calling it what our limited perspective can define it as. That's the only way we can see. But as I'm boring down here, I'm kind of losing myself a little bit this morning, and I'm going like, wow, I'm not actually boring down, because we know that it's flipped, so we're actually connecting.
So we're boring up.
We're boring up, right? Everything is in the inversion, or at least flipping the nature. So, but I just felt that, like, oh my goodness, I'm going so deep into this thing that I'm actually kind of losing myself a little bit, and I kind of thought, like, wow, isn't that amazing? Because this is how you connect to what is the deep, right? So we're boring up, in the metaphoric language.
Yeah, because we're about as low as we can get.
So we're boring up into the ascension of a point that we can no longer really connect with this world. We can, but we can't, right? We're connecting as a catalyst, as a bridge builder, because you built the construct.
Because we overstand it now.
And this is what I wanted to share with you. And I want to share a verse, and I just need to get this out, because the Spirit was... And it's just like, draw 3 lines. First of all, 1 line, and then separate them out. So from the 1 line, and this roots right back to what I wanted to share, because...
Oh, this is what we were talking about yesterday.
So from the deep, though, it's the separation from Sheol. Because I can tell you that what you just shared with is really confirmation. We need to have this. Because it's the I that would see the purpose of mother, right? That would allow us to compress that which needs to come to become father.
Right.
And so, like you said, like Sheol is the place where there's a separation from one, but it's like a magnet.
Yeah.
The danger is in this is that if you distance a magnet too far, it no longer has the pull between.
That makes sense.
So this is actually a warning to people, is that this is why we see such a distancing from those that we can say have spirit and don't.
Right.
Because they've separated so far from the intention of mother.
They're no longer being drawn by her.
They're no longer being drawn because they're partnering with something that has made the pieces separate so far. There's no longer a force. There's no longer an energy between to draw the pieces back together.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
And so...
they don't have the spiritual gravity anymore to pull them that way.
They've lost sight of the intention of why they are here in a dualistic nature to find one again.
Correct, yeah.
And so, and I was kind of like, oh my goodness, and I need to share this because this is really important, because it tethers Sheol to above. Because really, this would be, as we know, if father above, mother below, if we use that vernacular, and both are vortexes in their own right.
Correct.
Okay. So we can establish that, and then we know that mother has really, in the representation of who she is a mem, there's an open door to enter into her womb for the sake of nurturing, for the sake of producing a greater intention.
Which is becoming. And
it's a play on words, because her intention is to produce the friction necessary to become that intention, right? So, okay. So
I'm following.
Okay, so now drawing this between, the Spirit said, so draw a line as one, and then separate as two, and then the space between is the sine wave.
Oh, well, absolutely.
No, hold on. Just stay. I need to finish the thought. I need to connect the thought. So I need to run this all the way through. So you can take notes, but I need to share this.
Okay.
So then, the Spirit told me this morning, that's the energy wave between that's going to draw you back. One wave is below, and one wave is above. what happens is between building the bridge between Sheol and heaven, in perfect harmony and intention, there are 44 bridges.
That makes sense.
Okay, now I know that the temperament and the individual as an individual, that we process things differently. And so we as people in the processing, we may put fractals in between these 44 fractals because of how we comprehend. So in between the 44 fractals for us, we might break it down to more fractals depending on the individual, on how we're journeying. Some people might slow down the process of going, right?
Depending on what they need to overcome.
Depending on what they need to overcome. So it can be a laborious process for many, and for others, really the intention is 44 stepping stones of light.
Right.
That if you could step on them, you just do. Therefore,
hence the stairway to heaven.
Right. Therefore, drawing the two pieces back to one, because that's the force in between. But now this connects because I'm seeing it so different right now, and the Spirit just said, just slow it down.
Well,
so what you just drew is the DNA. So you've separated the sine wave below, mother, the spirit of mother,
right,
with the spirit of father above. This is how the rib was taken out of man for the purpose of finding oneself.
Ribos,
right. But it actually means of one side.
Okay, that makes sense.
And its name is Tesla.
Oh, because it's Zala.
Zala.
Zadi Lamed Hey, correct?
Correct. So,
the path of the teacher that reveals.
So I'm reinforcing that people in the narrative, the lesser narrative, and I mean no disrespect, I'm simply stating that a construct will form with the intention of how one defines the construct. So the difficulty is when we're reading texts, and the Spirit was all over this morning, it still is.
Maybe that's why I was feeling it in here, and I was getting downloads.
But we've lost sight, and this goes right to Yod He Vav He, and this goes right to man and woman, and what's on the head of man, and right now is what we're going through. This was so clear this morning, and it kind of almost like, woof, I went a little too far into it, but so these 44 fractals, so let's just solidify this. These 44 fractals of intention produce the intention. In its perfect measure, 44 steps of fractal light, 22 below mother 22 below. And 22 above. 22 below teach us how to, and all I'm doing right now is building a foundation to go into what I want to go into, because I got to go into spirit here.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it's it's just for people to comprehend. So the separation happened so we could comprehend the spirit force between the two pieces. There's a spirit force of mother and a spirit force of father. In the earth below, we know that Sophia, however you want to call it, spirit of mother, is been separated outside of us to draw us through the experience and the journey of time, that if we keep in close proximity to the Spirit, she will teach us how to put it back together.
Correct.
So we can become one again, or all of, depending on how you define that. And then that comes with its own definitions and renderings. But, so when I separate this out, I went, oh my goodness, so this, I can see now that the sine wave, the bridge between that was pulled out of Adam was a bridge to above. Because when and I'm going to call him not God, and I'm going to call him not Yod He Vav He, I'm going to call him the deep. The deep.
Right, because Yod He Vav He is just a teaching pattern.
Right, it's only a template.
I just put something up on the internet.
Okay, good, because it's just I'm going to show in the journey of the 222 that has been really our hallmark, our clarion call to where we are right now through the process of 222, and it goes right to Genesis 222.
So then source is the deep.
Source is the deep.
Okay, got it. I'm totally tracking.
Okay, so now I'm just stating that so I'm no longer saying, like, I'll define it as it's everything and nothing, it's 0 point, but I just call it now grandfather the deep.
Which is also grandflower.
Right. So it's everything and
Yep.
nothing. But so and it's interesting that this is so vast. I don't even I'm trying
Just keep going.
Okay,
You have
so
a
let
really
me.
good foundation.
Okay.
Like, I'm totally tracking with you.
Okay, so so we know that these fractals of 44 that are separated for the purpose of finding the intention of one again.
Right,
And
the
this why.
fractals of light.
Okay. So separated out of the rib of Adam comes the intention of above.
Yes.
But we have to journey through the below,
Right.
that are the 22 fractals. But as we journey through the 22 fractals, as you know, it starts to express itself through the higher frequency of Father's 22 fractals of light.
Well, because it draws us closer to that.
Absolutely. So the whole process in the revealing, it's like we were sharing the other day, the transference of wealth is really in the releasing of knowledge of which way you've already walked.
Right.
And so, but yet, it's like sharing with Jesse about losing myself in this revelation, because at some point you can't really communicate with people because most are speaking on the construct of really not even the intention of mother. They move so far from the force to draw them back to one that they partner with a lesser construct, thus reinforcing the lesser construct of what we call our material world and reality.
So essentially solidifying them in that.
It's
like they're concreted in.
Yeah, and then they've reinforced it, and that's why it's so dense for other people to see the way out, because it's so reinforced down a really the inverted vortex. It's really bored itself in to solidify into what I would call hell.
Right.
So now Sheol has lost really the definition of what it is in its innocence. Because in the innocence of Sheol, it's simply, again, tethered to the experience of becoming the intention of completed beings.
Right, the school. The teaching school.
It's only a school. So we
take the sting out of hell.
Right.
The fear from it.
Right. And so we have to give everything from the narrative of Father's revelation, because Father's spirit is on this too, and this is where you morph, and there's an exchange that you would see to speak. And we know that the deep is directly connected to language, and so it's right. It's a mock, but it's the deeper things, and it's all through. I can see it in it's really called the unintelligible language, but it really means the unfathomable because it's so deep. And so now you have Sheol, because it talks about the dead are there, the depths of Sheol. These are guests. We are the guests in Sheol for the sake of experience.
Because it's the school.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm totally agreeing to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this is tethered to...
Oh my gosh, shall we empty out Sheol?
Yes. We empty out Sheol completely.
Of course.
To be what? Because this ties to now the completion, because Tohu and Bohu is the process. You've already come in emptied.
Right.
Which
so
really means...
You come into Sheol empty and void.
Well, right. But really in its true essence, is saying empty is defined as you've come in full of light. Now you need to take it down to the lesser construct, and you're going to be released of your light, but it will be in the form of a spirit outside of you. That's the light.
Right, and so you experience the dark.
So you experience the walk of dark through the process of finding the fractals of light.
Right.
And it's called building the bridge.
Absolutely.
Because what you're doing is you're connecting the lower strand of the DNA to the higher strand. And each band between, the 44 bands between, are the bridges.
And it's the ladder that you climb.
So, right. So this dynamic in play is huge for the comprehension of why the language is so important, because it's the language of light.
Right.
And it's so now if we take the same picture of polemics, because if one is, again, we have to take it, this is the difficulty explain to people that
picture right there.
Yeah.
Like
I want you to put this.
It.
Yeah, I want you to put this on because
I will.
And I need to explain it though. So just give me patience here.
I'm letting you. I'm just excited because this is huge revelation.
Right. So if we take this same picture right here that you'll share of the 44 fractals, really what it's established is polemics.
Right.
Because the intention has, in its pure, again, father and mother are all about the definition of pure innocence. This is how you ascend with clean hands and pure heart. Because if you can see with the lenses of clarity, then you see clearly.
Correct.
And it allows you to hear and tether with the force energy frequency that draws you as a magnet back to one.
Correct.
But in this template, for the sake of just conversation, we can call these polemics. Really, a dynamic that would point to the intention, and an intention that would point back to the dynamic and say, because of you, I am. They both say the same language.
Right.
They both point to the middle. And this would be the mountain of ascension that you would stand exalted, perfectly placed between the mountains of mother and father, producing that exact intention. Mm-hmm. You're no longer black or white. You're the nothing between. If there was a seam between the two colors, the seam is really, you wouldn't feel it.
Right. It's the place of translucence.
Right.
Because it's neither black or white.
So this whole dynamic, in its perfect definition, is a tree over here. Now, these polemics have been split, and so let's call one the tree of death, Sheol, and the other one the tree of life.
Correct. I can follow that as well.
But we know we were brought into the garden, and the tree of life was there. It was already established, and it would have been the full manifestation of light. But we had to separate out, and this is where we have the separation of the Ish, the fire that was put upon the head of Adam.
Right.
But it was taken out of him for the sake of experience. So now we establish Sheol as really the tree of death. Now, define death, right? Because, again, everything has to have its right definition. It's to purge a nature to produce the greater's intention.
So, really, death is, like, I'm just connecting it to the beast ego nature. Because
yes.
The beast ego nature is what makes you forget. You think that you are not an eternal being. Yes. You're separated from everyone else. You are not experiencing love, and now you're in fear.
Yeah.
Which then reinforces the hell concept of Sheol.
Yeah, the egoic nature really, like, I was listening to a podcast by someone yesterday, and it was with a doctor who was breaking down ego, and I'm going, like, if he does not define ego as death, then right. He's only talking about the cause and effect of ego, of all these, and that's all he talked about. But really, ego is a parasite that keeps us from truth. Right.
So dying to self is the death of the ego.
Right.
That keeps
it's really based in fear, and it sits on the throne of the amygdala, and it steers us away from truth because, and ego is not sustainable. That therefore defining death. Anything that does not sustain itself is defined as death. It has to draw a source energy.
Right. From fear.
From fear.
Yeah.
And from others to make it what it is. Then by definition, it's death.
So it reinforces its walls because it never can attract light.
It never attracts the frequency of light that nurtures it into life.
It just keeps it in dark.
Life is, the tree of life, of course, is fully sustainable. It's sustained as one. It's actually, you've now become, right? Because we know that really what
that's perpetual motion.
We know that we're saying that that's 0 point, and that's why it's a vortex that would bring in full dynamics of containing everything and nothing with the zero friction, cosmic friction between that produces 0 point. So, I haven't even gone to where I wanted to go yet.
It's okay. It's a really good foundation. So I mean, I'm tracking you because you've put the foundation there.
Right.
So it's all
so again, I want to re-emphasize the importance of this bridge between the dynamic of mother below and the dynamic of father above, because this is everything right here. This is the summation of the DNA, is the summation of completion. The problem is, most of us have partnered with a lesser reality or a lesser construct, therefore we haven't connected to father above. This is all based on food. This is all based on ingestion through all the gates of the temple, ears, eyes, mouth, sexual, it's all what you partner with that makes a summation or a sum total of intention.
Right.
Connecting it to the intention above.
Right.
Because this purpose. So from the deep source, he gives us the template of Yod-He, Vav-He.
Correct. The two teachings.
And let me go. This is based off actually the title of the webpage 121, because, and this is in Genesis 2:22, and I had to lose myself, and I got to get back to here right now to explain. And the first word is, because English is not intended to bring, English is simply, if there was a river, English is simply, that's just not even on the surface, it's actually on the shore. But it allows us at least to step into the surface waters, to penetrate the deep for the revelation that lingers really in that depth of comprehension.
So it literally is like the place of transition between dry ground and water.
Right, the dry...
Just that one little, that's all it does.
Yeah. So breaking this down, this is the difficulty for the sake of really sharing with people, the difficulty is going from the English, which is really, it's really below the base of what Mother intended. So we have to fight and scratch our way, and I had to bend my eyes away from what the English is saying, because I'm naturally, in my form, my lesser estate, it wants me to connect with the words that I know to associate definition, because that's how we are as people.
Right.
So I got to bend my eyes away from that. Like, it's telling me that, but really that's not what it's saying, but my eyes want to go to it because that's what I've been programmed to do.
Because that's what's familiar.
Right. So,
because you're being asked to step upon something that is unfamiliar.
Very unfamiliar. So
that you have to step into by faith.
Right. So I'm moving from one realm to another and trying to stay in that place, hover there, to bring clarity to others that are still on their journey, the looming journey of knitting together mother and father. The whole garment is the completion of weaving the lower and the above through the weaving of the needle. So you're taking the revelation of the Spirit, which is the hay, and you're weaving the process through to connect. Mother and father, as they are separated, they are not. They're simply there because they're one expanse as completely deep. But they've given us the opportunity to weave through them both, to connect them, to see them from both perspectives.
Yeah, because one is the face of father and one is the face of mother, and they're the same thing. But to understand the fullness, they present two different faces. Two different faces,
but yet they are uniquely independent, but they are so bound as one. But just that's the love in this, is that this is how they separate themselves for the purpose of experience. And I just get teary-eyed when I think about we've so taken it to religion and into a construct of a lesser definition. It's heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. So in Genesis 2:22, and made, and the word is, as we know, bana, bet nun hey, but it's spelled vav yod bet nun. So it's not, again, I'm going to speak from a different perspective. And really what it's saying is, and made, it's really saying built humility in the vision of a son. Or, I just need to stay in this spot. So the son is built through the vision of humility. Because I can see that it's the infilling of, and so it's telling you, the deep is telling you that humility is in the form of a son. It's the process of it's like establishing this essence from the deep is making, or is built this, saying this is how you're going to journey in the earth. Now again, I'm not taking away son from daughter. Again, we're speaking from the language. A son is simply a frequency of intention, as a daughter is. We need to take it away from the lesser reality of a construct to say son is male, daughter is female. Yes, it is, but it's also not. And when you connect the higher sine wave, it's simply saying it's a progression. When you look at the word, it's simply a progression of frequency.
Well, may I add just real quick?
Real quick.
We are in a patriarchal system, so we all are starting out as that patriarchal frequency as a son.
Yes. So let's just keep that separate for right now. But so because the spirit hasn't even. It's like so built is the frequency of the sun, and all the sun means is you are. It's a covenantal language of agreement that we've already spoken to say yes, we will go down to the lesser estate in this lower body. So we had built this, and it's in the vision that is defined as sonship. And then the next word is Yod He Vav He. And so now, but again, it's connecting, and made Yod He Vav He. So he's saying, I built the sons, and they are called Yod He Vav He. I built them through the template of the vision of beholding the stand between the two mountains.
So I built them through the Yod He, 22 letters of mother, and Vav He, the 22 letters of father.
So if we render this down again, I gave them the vision to behold the 22, that they would stand to see the other 22.
Absolutely.
Or the spirit in the revelation beholding of mother is the vision that allows you to stand completed, connecting the two.
Yeah.
That then, because you connected the spirit of mother, hey, the spirit of father, hey, through the vision and intention, because you can't, now that the whole template morphs, because the template stands completed.
Right, because the original root of that is Haya.
Right.
Right? So
Becoming.
you have to become or to be or come to pass, so the Yod is in between. So
Right.
there's a vision that is meant to connect the two revelations so that you can become.
So, absolutely. So the vision for beholding the stand between the two mountains. Now, because this is a mother, father, the mountain below, Har, and the father above, Har.
Mm-hmm.
And the exalted priests are to stand in between, as really we're realm walkers. The priestly, the mystics walk between the realms.
Exactly.
And so
that's signified by the pomegranates that you were talking about
right.
yesterday. Or
the definition of pomegranates means to be exalted, and that's why at the hem of the garments of the priests that they're walking. Actually, it says that the whole representation, without getting off track, the whole representation of the garments is they are standing as a vav in the frequency of connecting below and above. The garment,
so it's symbolic.
The stones on the chest are the full attributes of all the resonances of what the tribes represent in the definitions and the frequency of their name.
Wow.
The shoulders are the governmental position because they're governing of self, therefore they are established as representation. The priest is the representation of mother, father, and the earth, standing between the black and the white, the Urim and the Thurim, and he's standing as one, marked as a completed one upon his head.
And that's when the head comes on the shoulders, which is the capstone.
So this is true government. This is true representation of government because he has governed self to stand uniquely knit as one.
Yeah, totally comprehend.
Now, there's only very few people that comprehend that, and that's why there's very few priests in those days. And then the whole priest line really got compromised, and now we've lost sight of what the priests are to represent.
Well, that whole thing was an external element that was meant to be internalized.
It was a lesser, they partnered because they missed the opportunity. They were connecting still, they were still trying to teach people the way of the lower sine wave of mother, and they got so far off they had to take it to a real beast structure to because remember, we're still talking about the virus or the parasite that infected the amygdala, that fear would sit upon that throne.
Right, exactly.
And so what it does is you have to go then through, and we talked earlier about the fractals between the 44 fractals of light, 22 of mother and 20 that are the bridges. And that's why I say in its perfect intention there's 44 steps.
Right.
But because of our choices, we've taken those steps and put many fractals between there that we have to then render down clarity to find choice to move on to the next step.
Right.
And the priest now has to define this for people to assist them because, to reveal the greater revelation that is still really, you can't even, really most people have moved so far away from the force of the lesser of, and I say lesser in the most utmost respect here, the intention of lesser and greater. Like the spirit below, they move so far away from the drawing force of that magnet that he's now teaching them, or he should be teaching them, the true resonance of the force energy that draws them back.
Yeah, the spiritual gravity.
The priest would be well acquainted with all frequencies.
Yeah.
That's why he resonated. That's why he was able to go in and touch the ark, because he resonated and mirrored the frequency of intention.
Exactly.
He brought the two cherubim together in the frequency of one.
Right.
And so he can't. Now this is.
This is interesting because this is really the process of initiation.
This is, and there will be people that come upon the earth in the very soon coming time that will be able to lay hands upon the ark because they resonate and mirror the exact frequency of the intention.
Exactly.
By journeying through the Kodesh, the holy, that then calibrates the compass and calibrates the body to go behind the veil.
Right.
Now you're into the hay of Father.
Exactly, which is the place of knowing.
So now you're into the spirit of the deep. You've now been taught. You've been taught the revelation to the sine wave below, to comprehend, to respect, to honor, to stand in integrity of that which is yet to come.
Right. So then you are Shem.
You're now the name of the deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's veiled for the sake of protection for the people. But so let's go back to the template, because now we know the template is Yod He Vav He. And this is going to spook a lot of people because they have. And in all honesty, they should have high esteem for Yod He Vav He, because it is in its pure innocence, without taking it into
the history lesson of who the entity is.
Right, because because that whole template has been bastardized and taken into the lesser construct and then reinforced as a negative entity.
Right.
And it's producing a counterfeit, as we know.
Exactly, which is what I was discussing, what I posted last night.
Okay, good. So it's just good that we're always inculcation into redundancies of going the same direction. So the template then is
May I pull that verse up so I can look at it too and follow you? It makes it easier so I don't have
Genesis 2:22.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm there.
Okay. So the Spirit just had me looking at it different, and this is going to be long in explaining. I just need to get back to the spot of Spirit in it, because I do not want to use my lenses of flesh, and that's why I've already wrote it down to some notes. But it's like getting lost in the ether, getting lost in the deep, and like, oh my goodness, it's not speaking from the clashing symbol of English.
Right.
It's such a language of frequency and harmony and love, and its language just takes us into adoration for, oh my goodness, we're missing the process of becoming the beings of intention.
Yeah.
And I don't point fingers. Well, I do. I point it back at myself for allowing myself to partner with something of lesser's intention. I lost sight of the purpose of why. So he made the representation of sun. And it's really, he made humility. The form of sun is really, I will make sun, and he will be in the form, and I will call it humility.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're out of your higher state of light, and now you're put into the flesh. I'm going to now, and this is where the bet comes in, because I'm now going to build you into the lesser estate, and I will weave it through the lesser estate's material.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be one with that estate until you find your way through it in the process of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do it. So, but in the process, this is where the Elohim were first built, because you can see the next word. It's let me see here.
Yeah, so it's Yod He Vav He, Yahweh,
Mm-hmm.
and then Elohim.
And then Elohim.
And then right after that is Aleph Tav.
But do you have the dimensional?
Yeah, I have the Pesach.
Okay. So he made the Elohim. And so they're built in this vision of this template of humility.
Technically, we made ourselves.
We made ourselves, because we are already from the deep.
Right.
We came down for the experience to know that which we already are. So the deep, this is where we connect the circle and Lula.
Right, Lula, and then the Tohu and the Bohu.
And the Tohu and the Bohu. It's all there, because
Right.
we've connected now the line with the loop. The lineage, the line of age
Right.
In time, we connect the circle.
Yes.
So
by walking the weaver's beam.
By walking straight as the weaver's beam, we make the garments of intention. The garments are mother and father woven as one, standing one.
Yeah, by the way, that's also has to do with the deadly wound that you were healed from, the beast. It literally says the weaver's beam. So just to let you know.
Okay, cool. And that's all prophetic, just so people know. I don't read.
I just dug that up this morning.
Well, I don't read books. I simply go with what the Spirit tells me, as you know, and purpose. And first of all, the mother is my witness, the father is my witness, and the Spirit is my witness that I don't distort. And my wife is also my witness, and so is my son, that I don't distort for the purpose of promotion.
Right.
I simply carry it for the sake of revealing.
Yeah.
So then we have Yod He Vav He, the mother and the father, twin revelations. It's the twin beholdings that produce the vision of an exalted stand of a meek heart. So now we need to be able to break down Yod He Vav He. It is simply twin mountains. It's mother and father broken into the templated form of vision and intention.
Right. The Yod plus Hava.
Right. It's the becoming being.
Yep.
So now what is it teaching us? What is the template teaching us? It's teaching us that the family of light is teaching us how to comprehend the vision of humility that leads to meekness. So we are pierced, joining the below and the above. Mm-hmm. Right, and that would be. Now, this is Elohim. The Elohim are the ones that journeyed. They're the ones that are journeying through the earth. They actually went from empty and they filled themselves up now to completely whole, full, completed, Kalal,
right,
to Ural.
Right.
And then the next word is the Aleph Tav, but the Spirit said, this is how. So in the beginning, the sun is built. Here's the template. It's done by filling yourself up. How do you fill yourself up? Aleph Tav. The family that are sealed through the process of the twins. The 22 times 2 are the 44 fractals of light that we've already established, 22 lower and 22 higher frequencies.
So just the Aleph Tav then is a summary of the journey. The
Aleph Tav is the summary of the pieces.
Yeah.
Right, and you do it right.
All the steps in between from beginning to end.
And you do it through, this is a little meta. Well, this whole thing is meta. But you do it through the bet to the Tav, because Aleph stands alone as one. Mm-hmm. But as we already established earlier, that the journey is bet, which means to build the temple, and then the Tav is to be sealed, the sealed temple. So it's really the journey of Bat, which is the journey of a daughter.
But if you don't recognize God first, then you'll never know that you're on the spiritual journey of spiritual gravity to draw you back to one.
Absolutely. Go back to what we said. It's the sine wave between. If you already know this was intended for us to know.
Right. I agree.
It got taken from us so we wouldn't find the way to become the full vessels of light.
Totally comprehend.
And then it reinforced an inverted construct that draws us of our true essence of who we are for the purpose of a nefarious gain.
Right.
It's developing
so that they could control and manipulate it.
It has truly created the underworld.
Yeah, absolutely. That we're living in hell.
We're living in I mean a hell that is now fully manifested, full blown in the construct of material.
Yeah.
We've materialized. We've done this.
Because we've densed ourselves so much. We've stretched out that sine wave.
Yeah, we were supposed to walk between in the essence of light, following the spirit of light, to find a way to light above, to be filled back up in this pure, innocent form.
Yeah.
So now we just go through this verse that the rib. Now the how is through the Aleph Tav, the 22 fractals of light. And so again, you can't say the rib was taken out, yet it was. It was taken out of man, but the rib is
spirit.
It's the spirit, but the spirit was already in us in the form of the bridge. The spirit is the connector between mother and father that dwells within us, that connects the revelation of mother and father, of the black and the white, because you already are the deep. So we've been split, and so the spirit within went in and became a force that pushed mother and father out, but yet if we keep them in right measure and perspective, they're always there. We are simply in between the sine wave of both of them.
Okay, no, so I'm getting that. So really what's going to be helping is this, if we keep this in mind, that we are talking about meta and spiritual.
Yes.
It is intimately tied to our physical, but what we're talking about is the spiritual essence of our DNA.
Yeah, as you know that, and I know you know this, and this is where you come in such a valuable level to express where I go, and then you break it down because you already fully comprehend this, and then you're able to really bring that measure of transparency, pun intended,
right,
to others to assist them in clarity.
Bite-sized pizzas.
Right. And that's the purpose of why you and I are together, is to do exactly this. So I value what you do. I just need the freedom of expression to bring something down that can then be extracted to see clarity of intention.
Absolutely.
So the rib is really, when we look at the definition of rib, it actually means as if one-sided. And it's actually, it says it's a rib, but really...
I'm tracking with you.
Yeah, it also says that this is where we get the word limp from, right? Because it roots down to limp. So we're walking differently. This is where sovereignty comes in, because something was taken out of you. And the mystics of the world that walk between the worlds walk differently because they're exactly doing that. They're not tethered to the material, but yet they're not in their higher estate yet. So they're walking between realms. And a limp is really defined as, it's the sovereign walk, that you walk differently.
Exactly, and I have taught on that in the Letters of the Deep about walking with a limp, and it's tied to the Soph, and it's tied to the Threshold Covenant. So just to let you know that if anybody's watched that, then they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, good. So
just keep talking like they know.
So a piece of that bridge, or half of that bridge, the lower, remember we separated it out, the lower 22 were taken out.
The upper 22.
Sorry, I mean the upper 22 we're taking out for the sake of. So now in this that it's the first. If we take this picture again,
I'm totally already picturing where you're taking us.
This is the foundation of a bridge.
Right.
That is the foundation of the establishment. That is now we have to build the bridge in between. Oh, it's got a ring in my ear. We now have to build the connector of exactly building. That's why we put
So you're talking about the double-stranded helix.
Yes.
The one side of the flesh mother.
Yes.
The left side, the flesh father, and knitting them up. So mother's fractals allow the two sides to then become married.
Yes.
And then when you get to the spirit side, it then takes the next 22.
Yes.
So then you activate spirit and flesh.
Well, yes and no. Don't get too ahead of
Quadrated.
me. Yes. But yet, still down here, there's the double helix going on that's producing a measure. Absolutely. So yes, absolutely. I'm still not through the verse yet to really explain that that this whole thing we've talked about the bridge builders, and I'm trying to render it down on purpose so we don't miss anything, because this is so heavy. But when we say that we're bridge builders, we're simply releasing the language of within that is light, that connects us interdimensionally to the deep. And I know that you can extract anything from this and do what you need to do, because you've already tied it in. It's just rendering it down a little clearer. But what was pulled out, now we have this thing that was pulled out of, because if it was there, then we wouldn't be in the experience of why we're in the envelope of time.
Correct.
So it had to be pulled out, so we experienced...
So we would find it, matzah.
Right, so exactly. So we had experienced Sheol below to Shamayim above.
Right. So that which was pulled out is what is the spiritual gravity that pulls us to find ourselves.
So when you look at the next word, which, so now we have what was pulled out, and it's just which he had taken, but look at which. It's like...
I know, that's where I've been tying it with Asherah.
So this is...
to be happy.
Well, but it's also, it's like the spirit, like this is the fire upon the head. I will take out the fire from within. I'll take out the light from within, and it will be outside and will be placed upon your head.
Sure.
If you walk perfectly in line with the purpose of the Spirit, then it's upon you.
Right.
If you want to distance yourself from it, then it's going to be away from you. But again, everything in perfect intention. If you're perfectly aligned, then it's going to rest upon you.
So this would tie in the tongues of fire that rested on their heads at Pentecost.
They are completely calibrated to be in line with the intention. Therefore, there's no left, no right. It simply is in one place standing upon you.
Yes.
And so what was taken out, I'm now going to place upon you with. Upon you is now with you, is now the fire upon the head.
Absolutely.
Rosh.
Yeah.
So he had taken that, and now but this shows the teacher how to compress light, because this is now the kuf of the brotherhood. So now it's the lamed kuf hey,
Or het.
lamed kuf het, but yet he has now taken the teacher that is fully compressed light, because we know that this is still the brotherhood of light. The brotherhood is the summation of those that are all together as family, and we know that these are the ones. So
they're the ones that are set apart from those who are outside of the family.
Absolutely. But in this reference, it still is the teacher that is behind the veil that is teaching us how to compress that which is of the brotherhood of light.
Which is the covenant of Father.
Which is the covenant of Father.
Yep.
And this is where it gets a little meta, because
that's chayit or het, which is het tov.
Because this is where we said that really, the journey of a son is to become a daughter, so we can become the sisterhood of the brotherhood, to be completed mothers and fathers.
To be the kings that are queens.
Right. It's such a whoa, but it's all.
But that's weaving.
But that's one.
And that's a weaving language.
All we did is pull the threads apart to see the process and the intention.
To see the two parts.
Without diminishing sonship, but without elevating daughtership. But
they're one.
But it simply is a process of becoming one.
Right, the two faces.
So they're all filled up for the purpose and the process that each one is contained in the frequency of each letter.
Yeah.
So from this was taken, the compressing of light was taken out, and therefore now we have to find how to compress it again. But it's there for us to find.
Right.
And from is now, it's the spirit of mother. So
this word too also means to be a part of as a stringed instrument. At the root level of it is anyway.
Right. Because the stringed instrument.
The stringed instrument is our DNA.
It's our DNA, absolutely. So.
And cymatics.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was taken out again? This is reinforcing in this verse 222, because it's amazing, right? Because first of all, stop on 222, the verse 222. It's the two patterns of the 22 letters.
Exactly.
And we followed the 222 for almost how long now? 7, 8.
I don't think it's been that long. I would say at least 5. At least 5, because we've been seeing these codes for 4 years now, and that information was given to you a year prior. So
what was taken out was the spirit of mother. So now mother, and
that's because the hay is on the prefix side.
It's on the hay on the prefix side. So now we see that in the lesser estate, because we see the separation. So now what you're left with, or blessed with, same thing, is now the mother's component of entering in. She's going to now teach you how to enter into her, to journey for the sake of intention. So while in the lesser estate of flesh, we now enter mother for the experience of journeying through time. And that's the mem nun, right? You see that.
Yeah, because we're journeying in our flesh suit for the sake of experience.
And now that's connected to man.
Yeah.
So now you're going to journey through the revelation, which is really the hay is the spirit of the mother.
Oh my gosh, that's hay. That's the literal spelling of hay. It's the revealing of that which is in our blood.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. This is. I'm trying to take this.
I'm tracking. That was a little.
So.
Ha-adam.
So you're journeying through the pieces of that is what already is in you. You're going through the containment of the macro and the micro.
Right.
You're in the microcosm of the macro. You're going to journey through your own blood.
Exactly, because that's where our DNA is, and that's why we are slowed down.
How are you going to do it? You'll do it through the lineage.
Yes, which is through the blood.
Right. The line age. You're going to do it through lineage. Genetics. So this is really, really intense stuff. And again, the verse is not happenstance. It's 2:22. Everything is purposed by an orchestration of events.
If you have the eyes to see through spirit.
If you're in a denser reality and construct, then you probably need to shake free of a little material. And I don't mean this as a derogatory, but I do. I mean it in the utmost respect for anyone to where we need to go to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, mother is then taken out, and she's going, please enter me again. Keep me in close proximity.
Or let me enter you.
Right, but it's a mutual choice. Yeah. Everything has to be mutual consent. She is already in the stance of willingly agreeing because she fully comprehends the intention of where we're going.
Oh my gosh, she is waiting. That's why we have the two rings.
This is why the earth groans for the manifestation of the sons and the daughters. And it's not and the daughters.
No, it's the sons who are daughters.
It's the sons who have completed the journey of daughtership to be called woman.
Right.
And again, meta. It's not that we lift or push one down. It simply is a transference of wealth defined in the frequency of language.
Exactly.
Therefore, moving through in finding from Sheol, finding the deep. So, from the process of Dom, she's going to teach you, because she is exactly that, because she was pulled out. She's saying that I am the revelation of the blood.
Right. That makes sense, because this is beautiful because it's taking us and it's connecting to science and things that they've already known about our body.
And what is her job to do? She is then to connect you. Look at, now she's the one.
Because she's connecting you to fire.
She's connecting you to consume the nature, so you would see the door to what is above.
The hay above.
The hay above. Well, it's actually, the ceiling. So she's telling you, through my, behold me.
I am your teacher.
I am your teacher.
I am your teacher of light.
See one through the door that I'm about to, I am the door. I'm going to show you the door to one where we will be again one sealed.
Right, because she's the one that reveals that door to the inner man, the Leb, the place where you can be taught.
Adam,
built, right? Because it's Leb.
This will be the new man, because yes, you've journeyed through seeing how to connect and be pierced as one, the olive, entering in as one to the door. You can only enter in one. You can't go dualistically into the door. You have to put the pieces back together.
Right.
They came the first time as separated, male and female, into the ark. Is representation. All the beasts of the world were gathered up in the lesser narrative, where two are gathered, male or female, to enter in. This next process, the two will be one, entering the ark.
Right. That makes sense.
This will be the new man.
That's where we were talking about the Taba and the Bata.
So now the man...
Right?
Yes, absolutely. So now the man, the spirit of mother that teaches family the way to the door to above. So these are the sealed chambers above. This is the closed mem. But you can get into it through the nurturing of mother. And then we have into the woman. So the man has the journey, is to become Isha through the teachings of fire and light, teaching man the revelation to behold.
Right. So this is already showing you. So this is an excellent verse as far as people connecting to the Hebrew wedding, because I've been giving the vision for it. This is the verse that shows it. So the revelation on the prefix side, which is mother, right? Mm-hmm. As the man is revealed the mother. Then becoming woman, because now they're a teacher of her, because they've become her.
Right.
A teacher of light.
Right. This is the difficulty, because this language, because it's so quantumly entangled between dimensions, that you already see it established, but you also see the process of becoming in the exact same word.
Exactly.
And that's the amazing part of this, is that you see it from the stance of teacher, and then you see it from the stance of teachings.
Yep.
And I know you know that. So yes, we can say it two ways. You have now become man. If you are sealed, you are now called teacher. You are now called light. You are now Isha, because you've been filled up back again as one. If you do this, in those two words, it's already telling you, if you journey as man correctly through the revelation of the blood that you already know, you will then enter the door to be sealed as light again.
Right.
Then you'll be one as fire, speaking this revelation. You then complete it again. It's like you're now the loop.
Yes.
And this is the depth of how fast this thing really goes into metaphysics. But so let's move to the next word, because we could talk for hours on just one word here. But then he brought her. So what brought her? It's the sovereign vision of humility that builds the family who have crossed over to the Spirit of Father. It's like, this is how you enter in. It's like,
well, yeah, because this word means to come and go.
Right.
Right? You're coming and going with a higher frequency.
Right. So you're coming in, enter in humbly in this vision. And so now it's going down to now the teachings. Right. Enter humbly in the vision of building this. This is how you are becoming one through the Spirit of that which is of Father.
Which is revealed to you.
Which will be revealed. This is, behold me as one. Right. If you want to know me and behold me, then you need to enter in through humility, because only meekness can stand, because it is nothing.
Right.
And that's what the Father is. That's the greater. And you know this. I know you know this. And now we have, so this is where you stand, is L.
Right, the strong teachers.
So this
the
is
ones that have the authority, because they've become one with the Father. Now they are a full, complete teacher of light, being one with Father, aka God.
Right. And so, but it's speaking again from the position of to become one, but it's also seeing it from establishment to the teachings again. So the stand of L is to be the family of light that teaches the family's way of light.
Yeah, the teaching shepherds.
Right. So so an L is one who has become, and therefore that if you are, it is like, if you have become L, that means you are of the essence of, and you teach this is the brotherhood of light.
Yeah.
That L is that measure that automatically produces the teachers, but it's still, so now you've again redefining the loop.
Yep.
You are now taught, and therefore you now teach.
Exactly, which is the fulfillment of Elohim.
And then what are you teaching now? You'll be teaching the man.
Ha-Adam.
Behold, the Spirit of Mother who reveals the family's open door that seals, surrounding as the completed circle.
What will be revealed to you in your blood.
What will be revealed. It's the circle, right? And so you have to go through the experience of the line to find the circle, but it's speaking the language of not necessarily redundancies, but yet redundancies on the definition of what redundancies are purpose to be defined
which
as.
Would be inculcation, repeating it over and over and over again until you finally get it.
And for the purpose of what? That you would find the intention of why we are here.
Exactly.
Because if we don't, and this is why the Yod, the vision is so important, because if you can't see the vision, then what happens? You reinforce the lesser narrative of Sheol.
So therefore, vision would be equating to spiritual gravity.
Absolutely. It would, yes, absolutely. It would be in this realm, that in the limited processes of what it is, and we both know the scratch and the struggle to find clarity that has cost us everything, but we were already well aware of the cost of garments, and that when they're given, you're going to go like, this cost much.
Right.
It's not given
because it's earned, because of you had to do the work for it.
It's based on the experience that then gives value. This is why they're costly garments.
Right.
Is because the cost is, it will cost you everything to find nothing.
Because you can't shortcut it.
Right.
There are no shortcuts.
The deep is the deep for a reason, that you're journeying through the obstacles of much, right? But it will cost everything to find this gift of nothing, and you're bedecked in the fullness of light again now.
Right. So may I share with you? I don't know how much more, but I want to share with you what I got at the very beginning when you said, hold on, I need to go and need to do this.
Yes.
Okay, so having gone through all that and broken down every single word,
Yes.
to take us back to what you were originally, the picture you drew.
Yes.
Okay? So we're one.
The picture.
And then I know,
yeah.
and I've already got it. I've already got a format of it on PowerPoint.
Good.
So as one entity, it was divided.
Yes.
Okay. This is why I was tripping out, because I saw the picture as soon as you said it. So as they got divided, the sine wave frequency got elongated.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the sine wave, we got slowed down.
Yes.
As the two pieces come closer together,
It speeds up.
this is the compression
Yes.
of the sine wave,
Yes.
which is light. So as it gets closer and closer, I can feel that, man.
We're becoming the Flash.
Oscillation rate, but the oscillation rate begins to oscillate at a higher frequency. So as they come closer and closer and closer and closer together, the sine wave, this is why we can see greater things. Because as we compress that light through the spiritual gravity, coming to the place of becoming one again, 0 point, where nothing is everything is. Where nothing is where everything is at, right? We have now become the fullness of light that is sped up, that is no longer of flesh, because flesh is of a slower oscillation rate.
Okay, no, yes, absolutely. Now, I need to say this because the Spirit's telling me this. How does this transfer into, because this revelation is frequency.
Absolutely.
So, how does the sun go into a solar flash? By the resonance of those on earth that have become the frequency of the sun. You become the frequency, there's going to be a flash from the sun that will connect with the arcs on the earth.
Right, which then in turn transmutes us into light.
No, you're not. Yes. But it's backwards. We have arced from the earth
to the sun.
To the sun.
So we cause the grand solar flash.
Yes. The revelation is the frequency of producing the intention that therefore arcs, and it can only connect with that which is of resonance of likeness.
Right.
So we're going to have a flash based on those, and so it's already released. The revelation is frequency that lifts right to find it's quantumly entangled to find its source.
Well, and that makes sense because the sun is the portal.
Absolutely.
So the way out.
It opens the door.
It opens the door, and as long as we match the frequency.
These are the mezuzahs in the earth. These are the gatekeepers and the doorposts in the earth, because they will be ones that have opened the door. And so
of fire and of living water.
So I'm agreeing with what. Yes, the picture is that you've joined together what was once separated. You've now connected above and below. It now has to find its completed one source, the door into the deep. It opens the gate of hell, Sheol. Nothing will prevail against this gate because they are the living gates now. So they have entered in back to the deep again, making way. A celestial law makes way for all others to enter.
Right, so as soon as we find the way out, the access point is given so others can find their way out.
Absolutely.
Because the way has already been made.
Absolutely.
And this is the difference. I had said something the other day about the difference between, the lesser narrative is we're going to cross into the promised land, which is the land of Israel. I don't want the land of Israel. I don't want a piece of dirt. We're not crossing over to a lesser narrative of land. We're crossing over to the land of light. So this is why, again, Moshe was like, I'm not going there. Because he saw the greater narrative that they were to go up.
What was
the crossover was to go up.
And what does Moshe's name mean?
To draw out.
To draw out.
Of the water. So his whole name, I'm just connecting dots here. So his whole name was to draw us out of the waters of chaos so that we could be set and crossed over to the waters above.
And what did he represent on the earth? He was, if the people didn't adhere to what was being taught, the temple would say, then I'm going to start with you. He was the priest in the earth.
Absolutely.
So then he would be called the exalted one. The full representation of what he did is that he stood as the mountain. When you look at the word Mesopotamia, and it breaks down to Meta-potamus, it means standing between the rivers, standing between the two sine waves to become the exalted one. You are now a meta-human.
Totally get it, because that's why he came down transfigured when he was up at the top
Again,
of
meta.
the mountain. You know what that is? Horus. Har Yesh.
You've now become the mountain.
The mountain of the being of substance.
You now are the eye that sees
everything.
the deep.
Exactly. So this is the capstone to the pyramid.
This is the capstone. So,
and when you do that is when you become light.
yes, you will know that. Again, how can you become the reality if you don't comprehend? If you don't comprehend the lesser, how can you comprehend the greater? How can you become if you don't speak it? Because this is the frequency language that produces the intention.
Right.
Stand between the two rivers, the two sine waves, between mother and father.
So now what you're telling me, so I'm connecting this dot. We've been talking about the mountains of mother and father. We've been talking about them forever. But now we're connecting it to the sine wave. Like, we've known its frequency, but in my mind I have this metaphorical picture of this climb up on two mountains. But now we're translating it to the sine wave frequency of what those mountains are.
Well, yes, absolutely. So, and remember, so this ties back.
Like,
yes,
this is important to connect people to the energy.
This is, but again, remember, because this is the curse is that we forgot. The curse is amnesia. The journey is the remembering, and this is all through the Meta-ology is the process of remembering. And so, if we look at even the narrative in the lesser construct, it says that Adam and Hava were naked, but no, it means that they were scattered into pieces and they had to gather the pieces.
Which are the 22 fractals of mother and the 22 fractals of father.
That everything but even the fractals have fractals between. So what I'm agreeing what you're saying is that everything is scattered, sine wave, frequencies, calibration, becoming, being, the journey of improper parenting. It's all fractals that we have to remember who we are through the process of picking up the correct pieces that allow us to render clear so we would clearly see.
And clearly be seen as a conspicuous individual that has been marked. It's Shem. That's literally the definition of Shem.
Pulled out of the water.
Yeah.
Becoming Har, the mountain of mother, where you stand at the most opportune place, the pinnacle of the mountain, and so then flash, you arc from that position because you're in an elevated state of being.
Right.
Pomegranate, because that's the hem of your garment, your walk. You've walked in the way of shalom, peace, and therefore climbing the mountain, the looming, treacherous journey of becoming, standing there in anticipation of the arc.
Exactly. So, connecting the pieces. Yod-He Vav-He, 6,220 occurrences. There's only two different morphologies of Yod-He Vav-He. One is just He. It got rendered down. It's He, and the other one is Horus. The one occurrence where it's it's He conjunctive dash Lamed Yod-He Vav-He. Behold, those who are of the light, that have become light through the teachings of mother and father, Yod-He Vav-He. Then the next one that they don't want you to find is Har Yesh, Horus.
The mountain of fire.
Because not only is it a mountain of fire, Yesh means of being, of substance. So you are not of the substance of being of light until you've gone the way of Yod-He Vav-He. Knitting the pieces together through your DNA, the double helix, that is then connected to the spirit helix that is waiting to be ignited.
Yes.
That is profound. So I was thinking too, now it makes sense why Moses, so he comes down, Moshe comes down, right? He's got the sapphire tablets.
Mm-hmm.
He's up there for 40 days and 40 nights, has the codes, and then he gets activated.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes down as light. But what happens? He spends time with the people who are based out, and he loses his illumination because they are too much of material. And he keeps trying to say, come on, walk this way, and they refuse to do it because they actually can't see, because they're too dense. They were in slavery for so long in Mitzrayim, which is the squeeze of the world.
Yes,
dense them out so much, and he is trying to show them, and he literally activated.
Yes, this is the difficulty of,
but they still couldn't see it.
This is the difficulty of, like, climbing our proverbial mountain starts, you know, the best of time, it starts we go to bed at 6, and it starts at 2 o'clock in the morning when we get up to climb our mountain. It's when we buck up our boots and we put on our gear and we go climbing. And
or we get out our shovel and excavate, however you want
and not too many people know that, but
as the archaeologists.
But our day starts at roughly 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's not for anything other than
it's the quietest time for us.
Well, but it's based off of the raw frequency defined as desire. Like it's not, if you can't define the word desire, because I will tell you that it's directly connected to the template of Yod He Vav He. It's directly connected to Haya. But I mean, it's progressional, because at the bottom of the mountain there's definitely a different frequency than at midpoint versus the top. As you take one step up this mountain, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know how you're not drawn up it because of the revelation that's revealed, because that's exactly
such a strong pull.
But when you get that close, again, it's like we drew that now your polemic pull, you're so close to the spirit, it's going like, oh my goodness, you're almost here, keep on walking up.
And this is why it makes it so difficult to connect with those that are at the bottom of the mountain.
It's not that there's a dislike or a not wanting, it's just that the language, they can only speak a based out language. And I mean no disrespect and no honor. I just mean that we didn't... Dishonor, sorry. We haven't partnered with... I mean, I'm starting to lose even my tongue for English.
I know.
Like, it's like... because the spirit language, it's an ether language that just like there's no value to English anymore.
Well, this is why we are going to actually stop speaking.
Right. Yeah. This is our writings. This is the power of thought. We're trying to get out. Like, we'll be thinking it because it's already contained within. There's no need. Speech is really a bogged down concept. It's really very base,
and it's based on our sine wave.
Right.
Being extended, because we lost, because the closer you bring those two poles together and the more you compress light, then you be able to activate those things that we once had, which means we didn't have to communicate with words.
Yeah.
Words are only for the lower construct because our sine wave is so dense.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like
stretched out.
I have to go to the source of Old Testament. I need to go to as close that. Why would you go to find definition? I mean, again, I can know that the Spirit has led us, and we've gone to find definition throughout wherever the Spirit has led us. So we have picked up and dropped pieces, and we have thousands of pages scattered, and those are many, many, many pieces. And now I'm being brought back to Genesis, to the beginning, to say, look now with what you've already built through defining much. Now take it back to the beginning and define the beginning to find the end. So everything is now based off of the scattered pieces of being empty and void, tohu bohu. To know what really empty is, you came from deep, you are now separated, called pieces. Now walk between the pieces, and this is, for anyone that knows Bible, is going like, oh my goodness, the whole walk is the pieces.
Well, yeah, right there, the mayim, the literal word mayim describes it perfectly.
And I'm being very reserved because there still needs to be work done for other people. This is where the teachings come in to assist people, because even though, like, you and I know that when we speak certain words, it's like an accordion that draws out to say...
Because we know the code and we know what's encapsulated in those words, so there's no need to speak a paragraph.
But if we break down one word, you would have a page that was like, I can't contain all that, right? So we know that we're speaking still coded and breaking down the code, but to say that yes, if Horus is the all-seeing eye,
yes,
by the lesser constructed definition, take out the spooky, take out all the Hollywood crap.
I know, the indoctrination
right.
that we've picked up.
You take it out and you can simply see
intent.
that we are to become as Moshe, to be drawn out of the water comes the pearl. It's the garments of intention that have the fragrance and frequency of living water. They then ascend to the top of the mountain, waiting for the higher frequency of that which is above.
Well, what's amazing about this connects the pyramid code papers.
It should. If it is, then it should.
No, I know it is, because we've been talking about this, and for how long have you been mentioning the word capstone? You've been mentioning the capstone as being the resh way before we were even aware of the pyramid code papers, right? And so then there's these other revelations that are coming, because again, the pyramid has 4 sides.
Yes.
And they're spiritual sides. Hey Tov, hey Tov, hey Tov. So then you become quadrated. But the capstone is the piece that we are connecting, which is what you're talking about, that makes us at the frequency as a temple fully built.
Yeah.
So you started in the very beginning about the priesthood's garments, walking between the white stone, the dark stone, and the ephod. So as a pyramid, that was what was given to them, that they had this external manifestation of a temporal symbol was to be made manifest. You hear people talk about the 12 strands of DNA.
Yeah. Well, that's in the writings, the rendered down writings of the Scent of the Rose too.
Well, the 12 stones on the priest's ephod.
Yes.
Over the chest.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the knitting of the pieces.
Yes.
Right? So as we're knitting mother and father, the most important thing that we have to do first is marry mother and father.
You at least need to be able to conceive.
I know, but
yes.
But by doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You bring the pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
You become quadrated.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've knit the physical together
Mm-hmm.
and the spiritual together. So mother, father, material, mother, father, spiritual. They are now quadrated.
Yes.
Now you're half spirit.
Yes.
And half flesh.
Yes.
Okay? Then when you do that, then it makes it possible for you to receive and unlock the rest of the codes.
Yes.
The 12 strands.
Yes.
12 by 12.
You would never see this.
12 by 12.
Yes.
144.
Yes. It's the same as the Aleph has 1212 occurrences, and it's not coincidence because Aleph is 1. That's why the next paper out needs to go about the Aleph is 1. And it's not, again, 144 is only a number. It's again, we're not looking, it's not a number.
It's a frequency.
It's a frequency of people that have become the intention. It's one that have been quadrated through the 44.
Exactly. But it does go intimately with the 12 by 12.
Right. So, and I wanted to reiterate too that when we're talking about between the pieces of Mesopotamia, this is huge. When you start breaking down, like to stand between, Meta is Greek. Hebrew means to cross over, which is defined as beyond, which is really the definition of what Greek says Meta is.
So it's the word Eber.
Eber, which is
Ein Bar.
Ein Bar.
Which is that who sees the purpose and knows are the sons who are of heirship.
There you go.
And the Hebrew alphabet, when you spell it, now if they've watched the other teachings, they'll connect it. It's the Aleph Ba'it, Ivri.
So now connecting that to
Ivri, the root is Eber.
Right, cross
the
over.
Aleph Ba'it, the language, is what allows you to cross over Eber, Meta, to have the power given to you, the Yod.
Eber cannot also be described as stone. Eben.
I guess if once you shed the flesh material.
Well, I'm just talking about the process of like when we connect
I don't know how
even.
you connect that. I'm not connecting to
Okay,
that.
well,
I don't get that.
okay, then I'll leave that for right now because I already know what I want to go. I'm gonna leave it for right now. But I'm just.
We've already been talking for 2 hours, so we'll be lucky if anybody watches 30 minutes of this.
But it's the process of the eye, the Aleph Yod Nun, is the journey of becoming the stone eye. It's the cornerstone that is really the eye.
Well, can I connect something? Book of Revelation. The mark on the hand and between the eye. The word for on the forehead, it's bayit ein. Now there's more morphology, but the root, it's bayit ein. The eye of the temple.
Yes.
I know, but people don't know that.
Yeah, okay, no, yes,
So-
no.
Because that's what I'm going into in the next segment of the ancient Hebrew wedding, literally is what that mark is.
Well, as we're moving through this, we're speeding up time. We're compressing our own time, and so as we're going into more light, we're actually moving things right along here, and going like, wow, like I'm expecting something to.
Well, of course we would be. If everything's within the sine wave frequency and we're compressing light, then we're making time oscillate at a faster rate.
We are, because things are connecting for a cosmic arch pretty soon here, and so I don't know if people find it and there's first or second. I don't know about that, but all I know is that when it's completed, it's gonna be done, right? It's gonna be.
Well, that's why we have the first fruits of the first fruits to help the other first.
But that's why the earth is groaning for the manifestation of this intention.
Absolutely.
To end this cycle of nonsense.
Exactly.
Like, these are now the teachers that come down because they flow as Yada Shalom, Yorels.
Right.
They're now, they have, why are they Yorel? Why are they Yerushalayim? Because it's by its definition, through the water, the lower waters, they've stood between the waters in the stance of Har, the mountain. They've ascended the mountain to become the capstone of that mountain, the eye that can see, to become the waters that flow down again because they've gone to the top. Yerushalayim means the teachers that flow as water.
Right.
In the way of peace.
This is why Paul writes it as Leor Shalom.
Right.
Lamed light shalom, Leor Shalom. The teachers of light that have become light, that have been completed. Leor Shalom.
Right.
And that's literally the New Jerusalem.
There's so much stuff twining right now that it's just amazing what's going on. So let's just leave it at that, because that's already a lot of stuff to chew on. So we could, it could.
But so to land the plane on this, every time we talk about compressing light, we're talking about increasing the oscillation rate of our sine wave frequency.
Because we're closing it in.
Exactly.